challenge of conducting this urban warfare, A, to get hostages back, and B, to then level Gaza and potentially just engage in the hand-to-hand combat it's going to take on mission A, it can't be, the complexity of it can't be overstated.
Boy, you hit the nail right on the head. You cannot overstate how hard this is going to be for so many reasons. And really at the top of that list is that Hamas has clearly shown that they don't care about life. They don't care about their own life. And that's actually a dangerous situation because they're willing to take a lot of risk with that. And so that also implies that whenever Israel or if the U.S. Special Forces ever get involved with this, the risk is going to be very, very high for the hostages as well as for those trying to get them out. And even if you're talking about a conventional fight like this, you got to know that as prepared as Hamas was to launch this operation, they also had equal preparation for the expected Israeli defense. And they have had many years to understand the tactics, techniques, and procedures Israel uses when they come in. So they have probably defenses already constructed and are waiting for Israel, which probably will include, booby traps, actually what they call fire bags, where they'll try to draw them in and draw them into certain areas where they can then have pre-planned bombs or snipers. This is going to be hard in every capacity.
I mean, there's no way that the Israelis don't know all of that, and yet they want to get their hostages back. I mean, these are women, they're children, they're babies, like they're fellow Defense Force members. But, what country would leave its women and its children and its elderly citizens just aside and say, oh, well, they got him. I guess they're as good as dead anyway. Israel's not going to do that. So will it not require a ground force invasion or incursion into Gaza?
Well, here's the situation. One of the most famous hostage situations was the raid at Entebbe many years ago in Uganda that Israel launched. And, that's a very complex issue. And then you try to get the hostages out. And that's when it's really easy to identify. This time, Hamas almost certainly has spread however many of these hostages there are throughout the Gaza Strip and all these different locations. And they almost certainly have visibility on the routes that would come in. So they would know if the Hamas or if the Israeli side is coming to get them, if they want to try a covert situation. So it's going to be really hard in any case. And there's no question that if they get it cornered, I think we can expect that Hamas would kill those hostages. And if Israel goes in and tries several of them and they start backfiring, then that's going to cause a lot of backlash within especially the family members in Israel. So again, there is no easy path to this. Every way that you would suggest has a big negative side on it. And honestly, I'm not real sure what Israel is going to do and how they're going to try to get these back short of negotiations.
I mean, there's a report out today, just looking it up here, via the Wall Street Journal, that Israel may be exploring a possible deal to secure at least the release of women and children using Egypt as an intermediary. This is according to Egyptian officials. But Hamas has given little indication, quoting from the report here in Wall Street Journal again, that it is prepared to negotiate unless it can secure the release of thousands of Palestinians in Israeli detention, according to these officials. Either way, they're saying this is a lose-lose because, you exchange thousands of Palestinian prisoners for one or two, a small handful of Israeli prisoners. That's obviously a propaganda victory for Hamas. But if you send the Israelis into Gaza, boots on the ground, you're going to suffer a huge loss of life on the Israeli side. And there's no guarantee you're ever getting those hostages back, even so.
That's exactly right. And that just underscores the conundrum, even for the government of Israel, because, you can imagine the backlash they would get if they, even if they got the women and children out. That would be, obviously great for every reason you can imagine. But then if it resulted in more experienced and hardcore Hamas fighters getting returned back into the potential battlefield to continue fighting, that's going to be bad for Israel. And that's a definitely lose-lose situation. Bottom line is that the operation that Hamas launched here has put the Israeli government in a horrible situation at the beginning, and it remains that case right now. At some point, though, because Netanyahu has said their declared position is that they will destroy Hamas, he's going to have to go in at some point. Otherwise, all they're doing is, guarding the fence, and they can't get by with that with the casualties that have already been launched into. So there's just no good path for Israel to take. Every path they go on has really big negatives. And unfortunately, they're going to have to choose some negative at some point to get this resolved.
What does it mean for us and for Hamas that they've managed to involve Americans, that they have, some number of American hostages now? In fact, the families of some of them actually just held a press conference. Hold on, let me just pull some of the facts from it. They just held a press conference today. The family of at least 4 Americans spoke. One hostage taken is a 66-year-old California-born mother. She's a hostage. The family said that they expect to have their family member back home safe and sound. They said they've had zero communication from Israel or the U.S. government. There's another man, Ruby Chen, said his son is an Israeli soldier. He's asking the United States not to take a back seat, says no formal attempt by the U.S. government to update the families of the missing Americans yet. And then there's Jonathan Deckel Chen spoke. His son is missing, appealed to U.S. leaders to do what they can on the side of good. So we're starting to get some information about who was taken, but they took Americans. I've spent years talking to our most well-known and beloved veterans and soldiers. Guys like Marcus Luttrell, guys like Dakota Meyer, Medal of Honor winner. We don't leave men behind. We don't. And those are even murdered, assassinated, dead soldiers. We don't leave them behind. We go in, we risk our soldiers' lives to get them. These are live Americans who are civilians who are taken. So what does that do for us in our calculation here?
Yeah, you're right. It is an article of faith. We don't leave anyone behind. That's drilled into us from day one, and it's part of our DNA. I think out of Americans, not only just military, we just don't leave people behind because that's who we are. And I suspect that Hamas did not plan on capturing Americans because I don't think that they really want the heat that we can bring to bear added on top of what they are already planning to do. And this puts them in a bit of a conundrum because if they start killing American hostages, that may look good on the surface of it for their cause, for what they're trying to get done. But the heat that will bring for us, because I think then you might see some direct American involvement in the event that Americans are killed by Hamas. I just can't imagine that we would stay out. And I think that they don't want us adding in there because that'll just add to their difficulty. So let's hope that reasonable fear on their part might prevent them from killing any Americans and release those hostages.
Do you feel, on the other hand, we don't want a full-fledged war in the Middle East that we didn't have 4 days ago, right? So that will lead to the death of a whole lot more of Americans. So we have to be smart about how we get involved and what we do. There's some report that we're sending some Navy SEALs over there right now. This seems like a mission for our best and brightest and most talented to somehow get in there. But as I'm saying, and I'm thinking about what you just said, they probably rehearsed for months for somebody trying to come in, get into these so-called terror tunnels that are underground, get onto these streets that they've got eyes on. Our Navy SEALs are still human.
Right. No, believe me, I am a strong advocate of not expanding this war any. In fact, I've been arguing from the minute we've heard about this, we've got to contain it within the Gaza Strip. We can't even allow it to get into the West Bank, or God forbid if it gets into Lebanon or Iran, because then that would be catastrophic for everybody, and most assuredly our interests as well. We cannot afford to get into another war no matter what.
Okay, let's talk candy. Goods Candies. They are a new sponsor and not your average chocolate shop. Nestled in a small town in rural Indiana, Goods Candies has been serving its community since the Great Depression. Goods Candies takes pride in its farmhouse-style, small batch production using only the finest premium ingredients. Trust me, when you bite into a Goods Candies creation, you will instantly taste the difference. This is a delicious candy. They have indulgent toffees, salted caramels, and all kinds of chocolates with unique cream centers like raspberry, maple, yum, mint, orange, to name just a few. Whatever your pleasure, it's there. Selecting your goodie bag is all part of the fun. They also do customized chocolate bars with your company logo on them or your family name or a message. Could be the perfect client gift or a holiday gift or hostess gift from you. It's unique and it's delicious, and it's a great way for your clients to think about you and your business, or your family and friends to think about you. For our viewers, they are offering a 20% discount when you use the promo code MK2023. while placing your order. The website is goodscandies.com, and their email address is goodscandies@goodscandies.com. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.